Everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. It's great to see we have lots of people here coming in to join us. We will just wait another couple of minutes for people to come in and then we'll get started. I'll just do some housekeeping first while we're waiting for those people to come in if we do have anyone else. But I am Ange. For those who don't know, my name's Ange Headlam and I'm the Community Experience Coordinator here at Diabetes Australia. I'm in Diabetes Connect, so I look after that for you, and I'm in there most days answering questions, posting questions. So if you see my name pop up, that's me. Today's webinar is a diet talk for our health coaching with Beck. So it's on the Mediterranean diet and diabetes, which I think will be great because there's a lot of, and I'm sure Beck can go further into it, but a lot of research around the Mediterranean diet and diabetes. So if you want, please turn on your camera. This is being recorded and will be in Diabetes Connect in the next coming days. Please feel free to raise your hand if you have a question or pop it into the chat or Q&A. I'll keep an eye on the Q&A and chat for Beck and sing out if there are any questions in there. But otherwise, please feel free to use the raise hand up the top of your screen and we can come to you and you can come off mute and ask your question. I will now just read our acknowledgement of country before I hand over to Beck to start today's topic. So Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. We recognise their connection to land, waters, winds and culture. We pay the utmost respects to them, their cultures and to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. We recognise that Australia is made up of hundreds of different Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander groups, each with their own histories, culture, language and belief systems. Their relationship with country remains of utmost importance as it is the foundation of culture, family, kinships, songlines and languages. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving the health outcomes of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people affected by diabetes and those at risk. So, as I said, thanks for joining us. I will now hand over to Beck and please remember we love to see your faces and please keep yourselves on mute and we will come to you if you do have a question. Thanks, Beck.
Hello everyone, it's lovely to see your smiley faces, all looking rugged up as well. I think we're all in cooler parts of Australia. Apologies first, Stephen, hello. I promised you last time I was going to send some information about blood sugars and exercise, which I actually have. It was sitting on my desktop and I didn't email it. So I've written that down to send you all. So one of the other webinars we were talking about, and Stephen had an excellent question about exercising and spiking the blood glucose levels and do I reduce my exercise because I've had a random spike. So I've got some information that I'll send you all because I'm sure you're very much interested in it. So that's my first apology. Yep, 2 thumbs up. So we're all human, or as Kath and Kim would say, human. It's a silent H. But today we're going to be talking about the Mediterranean diet, which I am a big fan of. And so many times people have asked me, oh, Rebecca, what's the best diet to follow? Well, first of all, when we talk about the word diet in Europe, diet does not mean regime. It means a way of eating. And my preferred way of eating for anyone is the Mediterranean diet. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And those of you who've been on my webinars before, it's not about me just talking all the time. I want to ask questions to you. I want to answer questions. I want to hear from you. But I thought I'd just paint the picture of what we're really talking about today. And so we know that there's so many different diets out there, but the Mediterranean diet, when you look back at what it is in the history, it's inspired by a traditional way of eating or traditional dietary patterns bordering the Mediterranean Sea. And so this is particularly found in Italy, South Greece, and parts of Spain and France. So it's bordering the Mediterranean Sea. And it's globally recognised because of quite a lot of health benefits, which I'm going to go into and look at the type of foods. And I'd love to hear about what you think. But I'm going to give you a bit of a history. I'm a bit of a historian and I always like to know, where did it come from and what did the research tell us? So in the 40s and 50s, the 1940s and 50s, there was an American physiologist called Ancel Keys from the US who were observing the populations from those countries, in particular southern Italy and Greece. And he found that there were low rates of heart disease and longer life expectancy, despite access to modern healthcare, because he was looking in a lot of the remote villages with little health care. So it's interesting. They're living longer and lower rates of heart disease with limited medical access. And so he started to look at the pattern, and there was a study called the 7 Countries Study, where he actually looked at 7 different countries long-term. So it was a long-term study where he followed people up over the decades. And the whole aim was to look at how diet and lifestyle influence heart disease rates. And so the countries that were involved were the USA, Italy, Greece, so in particular Crete and Corfu, former Yugoslav. So Yugoslavia is now Croatia and Serbia. The Netherlands, so Holland, Finland and Japan. And I found this quite fascinating. But before I go on, does anyone want to sort of hazard a guess of what he found with these different countries? So in terms of which countries had higher rates of heart disease and which ones had lower rates. So it's USA, Italy, Greece, Yugoslav, Croatia and Serbia, the Netherlands, Holland, Finland and Japan. Anyone want to tell me what you think he found?
I assume it's the countries with the highest intake of processed and highly processed foods that were the worst. I imagine it's the processing.
Absolutely. And who's this person speaking?
It's Juliet.
Oh, Juliet. Thank you, Juliet. You're absolutely right. So definitely the countries that had the highest rates of heart disease, the first one was the USA, because of high levels of saturated fat intake and processed food, but also Finland being just high rates of higher intake of meat and dairy. So they were the 2 highest countries. But then we had the Netherlands, who weren't as high, but because of the high consumption of meat and processed meats and dairy, they were kind of mid-range. So you're right. And the really interesting thing I found from former Yugoslavia, because I was thinking, oh, when I was reading just the abstract, I thought, oh, I have a guess myself. And I thought, well, yes, Italy and southern Greece are going to have lower rates of heart disease. Yes, that's right. But with Serbia and Croatia, I thought that's really interesting. And what they found in the urban areas, so near Zagreb, so a lot of the more urban areas, they found high rates of heart disease because there was more processed food. But in villages, remote villages in parts of Serbia, they found longer life expectancy and lower rates of heart disease because they had more plant food, less money to eat meat. So it's more legumes and vegetables and more physical activity, which is really, really interesting. And they found with Japan, it had the lowest rate of heart disease overall, the lowest rate of heart disease. And so when you look at the Japanese diet, which is also the traditional diet, very healthy diet, what made it lower rates of heart disease was the high intake of fish, so the fatty fish, the oils, the omega-3, high intakes of soy, plant soy, green tea, low stress. And the interesting thing is with the Japanese diet, you sort of think, well, what about the white rice? Despite having white rice in their diet, they still have lower rates of heart disease, obesity, and have higher rates of longevity. But one thing that protects the Japanese diet from, let's say, a blood glucose spike from having white polished rice is they use rice wine vinegar, and that lowers the GI of the rice. So it's not, and also a Japanese diet is not just eating a bowl of rice. Remember, from a glycemic index point of view, if you have a carbohydrate like rice, that's high GI, put acid with it, whether it's vinegar, lemon juice, lime juice, right? That lowers the blood glucose response of a meal. And add some proteins, they're going to add tofu or seafood. That's going to lower the GI response of a meal. And as Juliet was saying, low intake of processed foods. So that's quite fascinating that you can see that there is a bit of a pattern of less processed foods and more physical activity, But the other thing about the Mediterranean diet is the social aspect of eating. So what they're finding is that social engagement, eating with your family and friends, is a very important part of longevity and low rates of heart disease. So that can be linked with mental illness as well if you're in company with other people, and low rates of levels of stress. So that's what I'm painted the picture for today, and there's so much more we can talk about, but I thought just understanding the history and getting a bit of a snapshot into what they found from the research and why. Tell me your experiences about, do you follow a Mediterranean style diet? What are some of your star foods that you include? Or maybe you want to know more about the star foods, which I can talk about, and I'll have a shopping list for you at the end of the program or session, along with Stephen's exercise and blood sugar article that I wrote. This should be green tea. I'm sipping black tea, and, you know, reading the Japanese diet about the benefits of green tea, I've put on my shopping list. I need to go and have some more green tea. I've been having black tea with a splash of milk. Still has antioxidants, but green tea has way more. So I've put that down as my little goal this week.
I'm just interested in finding out more, I think.
Great. Well, how about I go through... Yes.
Sorry, my star foods would be legumes and vegetables.
That's you, Margaret?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Vegetables and legumes, absolutely. And so how do you like using legumes and vegetables, Margaret, currently? So we're in winter. How do you normally use your veg and legumes?
Mainly in stews in winter.
Yep.
And I find any dish that I make, if I feel I can put the legumes in, I do.
Yep. Fantastic. And so you're spot on. And when you look at, like I said, remember I said that in more rural parts of Croatia and Serbia, where there was less consumption of meat, they relied heavily on legumes. And you look at a lot of European dishes, there is usually legumes in the diet. And that's one of the first parts of the Mediterranean diet is the plant-based food. So we know from gut health, we hear a lot about gut health at the moment. Having a lot of fibre in the diet is fuel for your good gut bacteria. So it's legumes, and just like Margaret said, you're putting in soups and casseroles. What I tend to do is, let's say you're going to use 500 grams of mince or meat, you might take out a quarter of that and add the legumes in, or you might add the legumes as well and then not need the traditional carbohydrate that we often have with a bolognese or a casserole. That's what I tend to do because I've got a very hungry 4-year-old. So keep the meat in there lean, add the legumes, and that will give you enough carbohydrate. And I've mentioned this in one of the other webinars that I have a hidden veggie bolognese that my 4-year-old loves, and it's just a lot of grated vegetables and a can of legumes, and obviously tinned tomatoes and things like that. And it will give you about 16 grams of carbohydrate per serve, which is ample. It's filling and quite a lot of protein. And so you don't need any extra carbohydrate, because when we add that extra carb, that's where you might get the post 2-hour spike. So the plant foods, not only is the vegetables in season. So remember, I've said this many times as well, there's no point in eating a fresh tomato in winter when you can use tinned tomatoes in your casseroles and soups, and it's cheaper. Your cucumbers and all that, save it for the summer. So vegetables and fruit in season. So most fruits are actually low GI. It's just watching how much of it we eat. Now, if you're on a lower carb diet, you may be relying more on berries, but any fruit in season is absolutely fine, and you keep it to about the size of your fist. So that might be 2 mandarins, okay, or it might be a small apple or pear, but 2 serves of fruit a day. That fibre, again, don't be fooled by that sweetness. It's a natural sugar, fructose, and we know from the research too much fructose, yes, can create fatty liver, blood glucose spikes. However, natural fructose from only 2 serves of fruit a day, not a problem. And many of you have heard me say before, if your great-grandmother came back, looked in your pantry or fridge, and if they don't recognise something in your pantry or fridge, you don't eat it. But your great-grandmother will recognise tin products. They will recognise bananas. They will recognise oats. They will recognise meat. So it's keeping it to those pantry essentials. Nuts and seeds as well. So if you can use nuts and seeds, particularly if you're going lower carb, you might find that you're using more almond meal in your cooking. So you might be crumbing some, get chicken tenders, and you might crumb them with almond meal instead of breadcrumbs and flash fry them in extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to come back to olive oil and your whole grain. So plant foods are very a key in the Mediterranean diet. But the second one is extra virgin olive oil. And you've probably seen in the supermarket, there's so many different types of olive oil. A couple of tips about olive oil. Make it extra virgin because it tends to be less processed. So it's minimally processed, and that preserves the antioxidant value in the olive oil. So it's usually cold pressed. So extra virgin olive oil, don't be scared of fat. I remember when I started dietetics years ago, it was a lot of emphasis on low fat, but we know now, no. You're better to go good higher fats and reduce the carbohydrate, and just be generous with that olive oil, because the good thing about the Mediterranean diet, you're not counting calories. And we know if you had a salad and just ate it raw, first of all, it would be boring. My mum's just emptying the dishwasher. I'm going to close up the door. It's being a bit noisy, God bless her. She's trying to be quiet, but it's not working, and the cat is attacking her. So Nanny McPhee's is bless her, but she made me a cup of tea, so I'm not going to complain. Anywho, so the extra virgin oil, don't be worried about how much you use. Obviously, you're not going to use a gallon a day, but use it on your salad. If you had a salad dressed with your extra virgin olive oil and some balsamic vinegar, it's going to taste better. That fat is going to be really important for those blood sugars. So don't be worried about it. And it's ironic because when we focus on calories and what you can't eat, what do we start to obsess about?
Sugar.
Yeah, you do. The Mediterranean diet, when you think about what it's like, they eat in social occasions. They don't give up the birthday cake or whatever. Unless it's every week, Stephen's got a lot of grandkids, then you might be going, oh, I think got to come up with a strategy, which is true. So the Mediterranean diet, you know, it's looking at still treats 10% of the time, but you don't disregard all those yummy foods that you have on special occasions like Christmas or your birthday. But if it's coming up more often, like Juliet said before, it's the processed foods that will increase the risk of heart disease. That's where we need a strategy to look at reducing the rates. But fat, don't be scared of fat. And the cooking of olive oil, people sometimes say, oh, you can't cook with it because it's going to go rancid. You can cook olive oil or heat your pan using olive oil between 180 and 210 degrees. And you look at an Italian, they're going to flash fry the schnitzel. Now, you might do a healthier schnitzel by, like I said, putting almond meal in the crumb, maybe a bit of parmesan and some herbs, dried herbs. You can flash fry with olive oil, not deep fry, but you can flash fry. Not a problem. Don't be put off by that. Don't be put off by that. The other thing is, I learned this from a chef actually, not to buy big gallons of the olive oil, just buy a bottle, small bottle. It can go rancid very quickly. And if you think in Australia in our pantries, in the summer, it can go rancid. So just buy small amounts of olive oil and get it more often. I tend to get it when it's half price. On special, I get it in the glass bottle and I'll buy 2. Yep.
Can you tell me matcha tea?
Oh, hello, Wendy.
Hi, yeah, matcha
Good
tea
to see you.
has to be really good. And how much should you have? 'Cause I've
Matcha
started-
tea.
Yeah,
And so have you tried it before, Wendy? Like, have you been drinking it?
been
Or?
having this last week. I've been having it. Yeah, because I like green tea, but it's just stronger.
Yeah, look, matcha tea is very, very good for you. Really high in antioxidants as well, like the mate tea in South America, and matcha, very, very high in antioxidants, very, very good for you. How do you have it? Do you have it in hot water? Do you add anything?
The man in front of me at Aldi when I bought it told me, he said, let it steep longer because it's only the tips. It's not roasted leaves, and the taste comes from the tips of the leaves. So he said, let it sit for longer.
Yeah, and then you get the more flavour. But
yeah, because I don't have Indian tea anyway. So
yeah, look, and also like I said, just like the green tea, it provides you a really good dose of antioxidants, and it's just something else you can add as variety in your diet. And if you go back to what I mentioned about the Japanese diet, one of the reasons why they have, or one of their star foods is the green tea, but matcha definitely, because it's a concentrated source. In terms of,
So
what was that?
does it help with the diabetes or?
Look, indirectly. So matcha tea won't just give you a reduction in blood sugars straight away, but it's more if you think of the antioxidant cancer prevention point of view. Definitely. But I think it's indirectly related too, because, you know, if you think of something that's a bit more bitter and you're having a sweet craving in the afternoon and you have your matcha tea or your green tea, that can actually help with cravings as well. So it can be indirectly related to blood sugar control because you're less likely to eat other stuff. But definitely, I mean, I wish there was a magic pill to get the blood sugars down, but I would definitely keep it in the diet. And anything with green tea, matcha tea, black tea, we've got to remember there's caffeine, just to watch the caffeine intake. But from an antioxidant point of view, brilliant, because I know that we don't, and even myself, get enough of those antioxidants in the day, because if you think of how much salad or veg we need to eat every day to get those antioxidants, it's sometimes hard. If you're stressed and you find you don't want to eat, or you go for something that's a bit processed, you're missing out on that dose of antioxidants. So if you can go with variety, so thanks for raising that, Wendy, you know, your matcha tea, your green tea, your olive oil, this is another way of getting a dose of antioxidants. I've said before in the other webinar, I take a multivitamin powder every day. So you can take a multivitamin or some sort of powder, because I don't think I'm getting enough every day. Even though I'm a dietitian, I try to eat well, life gets in the way. And I'm just concerned about when you look at inflammation, and inflammation, this is linked to the Mediterranean diet. Inflammation is our body's way of fighting infection. And so you might find that you get swelling, okay, from an insect bite. And inflammation's fine. It's your body's way of protecting itself. Okay, but if inflammation is chronic and it happens over a long period of time, that's when it causes cell damage. And that's why we need the antioxidants. Yep. So preventing oxidization, that protects our cells against damage. And so it acts like a bodyguard. So our antioxidants from the tea Wendy mentioned, the olive oil, the fruit and veg, the more of we have that every day, the better, and in concentrated sources. So if you find that you're not getting as much as you can in the day, like myself, because I'm a busy parent and lots going on, then you might take a multivitamin. That is approved by, check with your GP, or a vitamin powder or something, just to give you that extra bit of dose, extra dose. Because we know that the way our vegetables and fruits are farmed, it's a bit frightening to know how long it's been on the truck, how long it's been on a supermarket shelf.
So that would help with arthritis as well.
Correct. Oh, good point. I'm going to get to Deb in a sec. Yes, when you look at inflammation, and my meal plan that I've just written for August, it's anti-inflammation. So anti-inflammation, all those Mediterranean foods, all those coloured vegetables and fruit, really helps with chronic inflammation. So it might be your arthritis, your rheumatoid arthritis. Now there is a question around nightshades, but doesn't eggplant, potatoes and tomato and capsicum or red pepper cause inflammation to the joints? Now there's no convincing research to say it does. And in actual fact, it says that, well, the research says that including these vegetables, which are in the Mediterranean diet, can help with inflammation. However, there are some people and some patients I've seen over the years who say, Rebecca, as soon as I eat eggplant, I get pain. If you can see a direct relationship between what you eat and some symptoms, then you cut it out, because people have individual sensitivity. But in general, there's no clear-cut evidence. And that's why this is not a one-size-fits-all. Not everyone can have the foods in a Mediterranean diet. They might be gluten-free, so you don't have the sourdough bread. But there's always something for everyone. But if you find you have individual reactions to food, then you cut it out. But as a general rule, the anti-inflammatory diet, which is antioxidant rich, which is a Mediterranean diet, are all the colours of fruit and veg in season. Deb, you had a question. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. When I think of the Mediterranean diet, I think of lots of pasta, and I struggle with a lot of pasta. It's just too high carb for me. And so a lot of the recipes that I see, I find difficult to follow because of the pasta content.
Oh, I love that point, Deb. You're absolutely right. I'm going to be completely honest with all the recipes that I create for DA. So if you go on the DA website, type recipes, you'll see heaps. We have very strict nutrition specifications to make sure that the recipes pass. And carbohydrate is quite strict because we know that we don't want to be giving you recipes that cause a blood glucose spike. And so I don't have any pasta recipes.
Great.
For that reason. However, since speaking with you, Deb, Deb recommended a company called Keto, Q-U-E-T-O-E.
I don't think there's a U in there.
Yeah, Q-E-O-T-O. I keep saying U. Yeah, Q-E-T-O-E.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
Keto.
Yeah.
Q-E-T-O-E. I meant E, but I kept saying U. But Keto, and the only reason why I'm recommending this brand is because I was desperate, okay, to find recipes for pasta and using noodles. And so the traditional Mediterranean diet, they use pasta, but in not big quantities. And I think you got to think about how pasta was made years ago. Yeah, it was made from hand, lots of egg, and from home, more processed now. So the recipes that I'm starting to create, keto, the company have fettuccine, spaghetti, and noodles that you can use as a replacement. And so they're made from soy fiber. A lot of it's made from plant soy. And so some of the recipes I've recently come up with use those products, and then they pass the guidelines. And not only do they pass the carb guidelines, they give you a huge dose of fiber. So our guidelines, we try very hard to make sure whatever recipe I create for you is very high in fiber, low in saturated fat, and capped the carbs and capped at the sodium. It's actually very strict, our specifications, and we've just recently reviewed them and became more strict in carb and more strict with fiber. So we've actually said we need to have more fiber for that reason of the Mediterranean diet. We need more fiber. So when Deb recommended that a couple of sessions ago, because I was trying konjac noodles, which are slimy, and I went to give them to my daughter and she was dry retching, and I thought, well, maybe not. I test all my recipes on my 4-year-old and my mother. So I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah, Wendy, she didn't like it. She could smell it and didn't go near it. So with the keto recipes, the noodles and the pasta are very good. So if you want to have a Mediterranean style diet, the good thing about that is you get that whack of fiber. What I'd still recommend is you might have that bolognese or whatever with a lot of veg, and then you might just add your noodles at the end, or your spaghetti pasta at the end, but you're going to get a big dose of plant fiber. And thank goodness, because apart from that, I don't ever recommend or write any recipes. So it's a really good point. And the other thing is I'm going to put out there, if you have, because my next meal plan is called Fakeaways. So Fakeaway being fake takeaway. Every month I'm coming up with a different theme. Now, remember, all the recipes are carb modified, but I'm trying to come up with something more interesting for everyone. If you have a favorite takeaway, right, or a favorite, meal you eat out that you'd like a healthier version for, and it might be a carbonara pasta, and that's what I'm going to try all these keto noodles. Please send me an email. I'm going to put my email in there, and thanks, Ange, for putting keto in the chat. I'm going to put my email because I'd love to hear from you. I remember from speaking with Stephen last time, he mentioned KFC. Now, one of the recipes I've got is a crunchy, crispy, spicy chicken dish, which might give you that satisfaction of a crispy chicken thing, not like KFC, but sort of. But if you've got any, I've just put my email there. If you've got any ideas, one of them from the team was carbonara pasta. One of our members, Natasha, loves creamy pasta. So I'm going to trial it with the keto noodles, and that should pass our specifications. So there are ways of modernizing the Mediterranean diet. The other thing I was going to mention about the Mediterranean diet is, so we've said that the healthy fats. So, you know, olive oil is expensive, but remember, think of it as medicine. Let medicine be your food and food be thy medicine, and get it on special. And the other thing you can do, don't buy the spray. You're using an aerosol. So what I do is, if you want to spray it, just buy a plastic spray or glass spray bottle and decant it and put it in there, or just get a pastry brush and wipe it. But the fish, the seafood, so the Mediterranean diet includes fish or seafood at least twice a week, the Japanese diet even more. Don't forget, if you're not sure about where your fish is coming from, don't forget that tinned salmon and tuna are also good. I wouldn't get the tuna in oil. You can have tuna and olive oil. Don't worry about the calories. Who cares? And one of the brands, there's a couple of really good brands. They're a bit more expensive, but that olive oil becomes the dressing, and it just tastes absolutely delicious. So don't go for tuna or salmon in just oil, because it's going to be a nasty vegetable oil. Remember, manufacturers want to save money. It's going to be a cheap, nasty fat. So either get the tin fish, sardines, mackerel, tuna, salmon in spring water or olive oil. If you get the spring water, then add fat to it. But don't do the ones with the cheap oil. It's just yuck, processed. And then, you know, if you can find fresh fish, that's great, but if not, I have tin fish at least once or twice a week as a quick meal. And then the red meat, the Mediterranean diet, they don't get rid of red meat at all. It's just smaller amounts. So you might be having twice a week. When I do my meal plans, I always include red meat twice a week, and your portion might be around, they say up to 350 grams a week. So you might have 100 grams 3 times a week, or just twice a week. So I always do red meat twice a week. Fish, these are your main meals, twice a week. Then your poultry, chicken or turkey twice a week. And then a vegetarian meal once a week, and that could be an egg base, a legume base. This is also based on the National Heart Foundation. So like I said, when I'm meal planning, red meat twice a week, and that could be pork or veal or beef. So red meat twice a week, chicken twice a week, fish twice a week, veggie once a week. And then when it comes to lunchtime, I tend to have more tin fish, or maybe a bit of leftover chicken or egg, or then just legumes. The hard thing with legumes, if you're eating low carb, is to try to get enough protein. So tofu gives you a big whack of protein if you want to give tofu a try. But the fish and the poultry, the chicken, even the National Heart Foundation said that they're quite neutral. They don't cause an increase in heart disease risk. Just make sure that the chicken is all trimmed and everything. It's just the red meat we have to be careful of. But if you eat red meat, don't get rid of it, just a smaller amount. And if you eat for one, you know, steak can be very expensive. The lean pork mince, I think, has a bit of flavour in it when I make my bolognese, or you can have lean beef mince. Or whatever you can find on special, but it provides a very iron-rich meal, so you don't need to get rid of it. It's just smaller amounts. The Japanese diet don't have a lot of red meat, so expensive in Japan. That's why they have a lot of fish, and they rely on a lot of soy products. The Mediterranean diet, the good news is they also say red wine with meals in moderation. So that's optional, but red wine is part of it. So, and sometimes they call it the French paradox, where they have lots of red wine, and how do they have all that butter? They say that the antioxidants in the red wine, but also in the plant foods they eat, but it's just moderation. And that's on the shopping list, as is dark chocolate. So yeah.
Yay.
I remember working with a cardiologist, and he'd say to patients, just have red wine and chocolate. And I think that he had a personal agenda there. Go the veg, but a little bit of dark chocolate's not going to hurt you if it's a high percentage of cocoa, or you can have cocoa in a hot chocolate. I use pure cocoa to make a hot chocolate for my 4-year-old. But remember, this is all basic food, and so when you look at my shopping list, you'll go, that's a bit boring, because they're all pantry essential foods. And then when you eat out now and then, or have cake and coffee with your friend, you don't have to worry about what you're eating. Just enjoy what you have. Go back to the basic diet when you get home. It really is. It sounds simple. It's life that gets in the way that makes it complicated, but don't overcomplicate the Mediterranean diet, because the benefits are astounding. I'm gonna read through. I've written down some benefits actually. It's just phenomenal. So we know the heart benefits. I spoke about that. Reduces the risk of heart disease and stroke, but also reduces that LDL bad cholesterol. And that's because you're reducing the saturated fat. Yep, and you're increasing the good fats. Improves blood glucose levels and blood pressure because it's low salt with the blood pressure. But blood glucose levels, as I said, with the Mediterranean diet, they're not sort of so much saying the portions, but you know yourself 2 hours post meals, how much carbohydrate you can get or you can allow yourself. So let's say you had a sandwich at lunch and it was on sourdough bread and you thought, oh my goodness, my blood sugars went through the roof. Don't get rid of the bread if it's a good sourdough. Maybe cut it down to 1 and make an open sandwich. Put more of that salad on there, olive oil, put some protein on there. Test your sugars the next day, and then you'll probably find that it's okay. So whenever you find that there's a spike in blood sugars, always think, okay, was that a quality carb? Yes, it was. And like Deb said, oh, my blood sugar's after pasta. And you might think, well, I can't just eat 2 strands of spaghetti. That's boring. If you find that your blood sugars go up, well, maybe I'll try an alternative. So you might try the keto pasta, or you might try the zoodles, but I get sick of doing that. You know, come on, let's be real. Give the keto noodles or pasta a try, and then you can feel like you're having something. And then when you go out, whenever I go to an authentic Italian restaurant, I always have pasta because I know it's going to be good. And don't worry about the blood sugars if it's just now and then. Enjoy food. Remember, an aspect of the Mediterranean diet is enjoyment. Very important, because you're around your diabetes every day. Who gets bored with that? Who gets tired of that? 24/7. Yeah, you don't need to be told. You already know. So bring that joy back into your life with food as much as you can. It's very important. Brain health. Reduces the risk of Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. And also promotes mental well-being, in particular depression. And there have been studies on omega-3 intake, so in particular from fish, and the impact on mood. So fascinating stuff. And that's why when you look at the Japanese diet, the Okinawan diet, which is off the coast of Japan, they have a big intake of fish. Remember, expensive in this country. You might not know where the fish comes from. So don't forget the tinned fish is absolutely fine as well, okay, in the olive oil, the spring water. But really important is that brain health, the omega-3, but also the antioxidants. So remember we said the green tea, the matcha tea, the fruit and the veg, extra virgin olive oil. They guard your body against those free radicals. Really important. Weight management. Who feels full after you add a bit of fat to your meal and protein, and you have this balanced meal rather than just a boring salad with a piece of steak? You know, add your good fats, add your protein, add the carbs as much as you can. And the thing is, like I said, it's not about calorie restriction. If you are satisfied by a meal, and just focus on those macronutrients. So don't worry about the numbers and go, okay, where's my protein at the meal? What fat am I going to use? Is it avocado or is it olive oil? Yeah, what color am I going to use? What veg or salad? And what carb am I going to use? And then you'll find that you'll be much more satisfied and less likely to snack in between meals. Has anyone found if they have eggs at a breakfast, they're not hungry mid-morning? Yep. And yeah. So always look at patterns and don't think, oh, I've got no willpower. Incorrect. Always have a look at, what did I eat? How come I wasn't hungry yesterday and I'm hungry today? What's that about? Is it the food I ate, or maybe it's stress? Always look back to your own self and you'll know what would suit you better. And the same with diabetes prevention and management. So we know that, as I just said, if you've got that satiety, that feeling of fullness, you're not going to overeat the carbs. And also with the cancer prevention, as I said, those antioxidants really helps to prevent cancer. And, you know, we can't avoid all that. We know that, you know, some people have an amazing healthy diet and you know, you may still get a chronic disease, but also don't think about your recovery. You know, I've seen many people have had a heart attack and doctors have said, well, how you survive, we don't know. And I know that basically, well, I remember one chap, one of my patients, and he had a heart attack, and the doctor just couldn't believe it. Like, you've got a healthy diet. And I said, well, that's what kept him alive. So remember, that's what might get you through a chronic illness, or maybe these horrible flus and everything we've got at the moment. Maybe you're getting through it quicker because you're guarding your body against these horrible infections and chronic diseases through a healthy lifestyle, which does include stress management. That's not easy. Angie's laughing. It's not easy, but yeah, it's not just what we put in our mouth. It's about the people we're around and managing stress and sleep. Don't forget about that. It's really important. Very important.
Making a good test case here today, Beck.
Yeah, I've got, yeah. It's not easy. But comments or questions about that? It sounds simple, like I said, but the things in life, and even weight management, people go, oh, I've had many patients go, Rebecca, it's just so simple. If I do this, I should get this outcome, but life gets in the way. So when life gets in the way, go back to my basic shopping list I'll add in a minute. Go back to the basics. Don't overcomplicate it. Go back to the basics. Because there's so many diets out there, and honestly, most are promoting quick fixes, which may happen, but does it last? Sustainability. Yep. So the diet, or remember, way of eating that you choose should be for the rest of your life. So when people go, oh, I couldn't do that, then that's not the right diet for you. The Mediterranean diet, that way of eating, is for life. All you may need to focus on is portion caution. What you need to modify to suit those blood sugar levels. Yep. Comments or questions?
Can I just say, what I struggle with the most is I get into a cycle of I love the idea of the Mediterranean diet,
Mm-hmm.
and I eat primarily. That's how I eat. Apart from the pasta, and I found the keto pasta as a substitute. But I get into this cycle of finding the balance between how much carbohydrate, because I have to dose insulin for it. So my head goes, okay, I want to minimize the amount of insulin that I'm dosing, and so that for me equates to minimize the amount of carbs that I'm eating. And it kind of gets, I find myself getting into this cycle of it just does my head in sometimes.
Oh, I could imagine.
It's
because
really
you think
it's hard work.
Yeah.
The Mediterranean diet is hard work. We have tried it here, and we find it difficult. Like I'm the house person. My wife will come in tonight or this week at 6:30, 6:45, after she's left here at 7, and she will just hoover up anything that I put in front of her. So with us, it's about portion size. It's portion size.
Yep.
In the summertime, it's a bit different, where we can buy. We're comfortable with salad type, Mediterranean type stuff, but in the wintertime, we find that if we're buying that type of product, then it's getting thrown out. Basically, because we need the protein.
Yep, of course. Don't forget, Stephen, your beautiful chicken soup. That's Mediterranean, using protein and veg. So don't think Mediterranean so much as olives and eggplant. Think about Mediterranean Australian style as any veg that's in season that you can cook up. So any of those casseroles or soups you do, that's Mediterranean with your protein. Or it might be you're coming home late. My go-to is eggs. Put some do some scrambled egg, put something in there, baby spinach, whatever you can. That's Mediterranean. So yeah, strip it back and think of Mediterranean as vegetables or salad in season, protein that's lean I can find, and extra virgin olive oil.
Yeah. So what I've got chicken soup. So I've got 3 containers of chicken soup in the fridge. But for tonight, for dinner, I've got for my wife a bolognese, but it won't be a bolognese as such. So it'll be tin tomatoes,
Right.
and there'll be vegetables in, and it's pork. I've got pork mince.
Perfect. That's what I use. Yep.
Pork mince, and I'll have vegetables in the pork mince.
Right.
Like some spinach.
Mhm.
And I know that probably sounds weird, but
No, that's what I have.
it's a winner, and she's happy to. My wife is happy to eat that type of stuff, that type of food. And then, like as I said, it'll be 6:45, and she just like is so hungry.
Well, you're very organised, and she's very lucky to.
Well, sometimes I don't feel organised. Sometimes I feel like, my God, what do I do? So, as I said, it's hard work.
It is hard, and for all of us, because it requires a lot of planning. But that recipe, you said lean pork mince, tin tomatoes, spinach. That's exactly what I use for a bolognese. That's Mediterranean, because what you're doing is, like I said, you think of the Italians, when it's winter time, or their winter, they bottle up the tomatoes, make passata, tin tomatoes. They don't use a fresh tomato. And in actual fact, there's more lycopene, the antioxidant lycopene, in tin tomatoes than there is in fresh. So you've just given yourself a massive whack of antioxidants. So you really are right on track, seriously.
I've got to be careful because both of us suffer from reflux.
Oh, okay.
And tomatoes is a prime product for reflux. So I just have to be careful about how much tomato-based stuff I put in.
Yeah, it's dosage. Absolutely. And it's hard if you're hungry. So yeah, you'll know yourself personally. It's like with chili or capsicum as well, just to portion yourself. But you're doing really well. Like the meals that you've been telling me, I'm getting to know you a bit now, Stephen, are really good. It is an everyday battle.
It is an everyday battle. So, as I said, my wife leaves at 7, or starts at 7, so she leaves before then. And my chances of talking to my wife about, what do you want for dinner tonight, when all she's really thinking about is what she needs for lunch, is making her lunch and me getting out of her way so that she can get ready for work. So I've got to put on the table, I guess, what I think that she would be interested in.
Well, it sounds like she's liking what you're making, and everything you've mentioned is big tick.
There's times when, my God, she's just going to give it to me because I just haven't put the right thing in front of her.
Well, do you want me to write an email and say that you're doing a great job? Come from me. Seal of approval.
I know what, I'll ring her and I'll say, what do you want for dinner? And when she says I want something nice, I know exactly what she wants.
One day you'll just have to give her a Vegemite sandwich, and then she might go, okay, maybe I need to be more specific. Thank you, Stephen.
Something nice is Kentucky Fried. That's what...
Well, I'm working on a recipe for my fake way in honor of you, so don't worry. Watch this, Kate. Watch this space. Now I've got a question from Charmaine and then Wendy, but Deb, you said with the blood sugars, and I understand, because you're dosing for it and you think you've got to eat lower carb. How would you like to think about meals? How would you like to see the situation?
I'd like to be able to dose the minimal amount of insulin that I can, and not have a spike.
Okay. Now, I know that you do a lot of low carb. Is it the frustration when you eat low carb, but it's the higher fat in the meal or protein, and that still creates a spike?
Yeah. I can eat the same meal, 2 days in exactly the same meal, 2 days in a row at exactly the same time of the day, and dose exactly the same amount of insulin and have completely different responses.
Yep, I hear you. Do you think that in you look at the bigger picture, does those spikes every now and then, you've got to think of the percentage of that, does it affect the overall HbA1c, or is it the way you see those spikes? I
don't care about my A1C. I actually don't. I mean, obviously, I know what it is, but
Yes.
for me, it's an insignificant number. But I feel better. I feel better when I don't have the spike. If I don't have a great fluctuation, whether it's from low to high or high down to low, if I don't have those big fluctuations, I feel so much better.
And that's what you want. I mean, there's
yeah.
And so, do you feel that you're trying everything you possibly can to reduce the number of spikes?
Everything that I know, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of ways for you and looking at realistic, because we know, and I think we spoke about this before, you can do the same meal, same time, etc., etc. And there might be, maybe there might be some sort of pain or the weather, or maybe there's no other outlying other factors, and you can't pinpoint why, but it's that thing of feeling rubbish, and that's what you don't want to feel. I guess it's being realistic about how we can tackle this. And I've said before, you can't see yourself with your own eyeballs. So whether I can have sending me a diary and have a look and see if I can, and because you're so switched on with your type 1 diabetes, think of all those factors. Or maybe I'll start asking you factors. Well, Deb, it's high here and you had the same meal yesterday. Was there anything different here? Sleep, stress, maybe that's something we can do. And maybe we can look at an aim of percentage-wise. Okay, can we reduce this feeling rubbish by 20%? You know, can we make some sort of inroad that will then help you to feel like you're getting a bit more control back? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I'd love to have a look, because it does frustrate me when I hear these stories and think, we know there's going to be 5% of the time where it's just the big mystery, but maybe there are some commonalities that are happening that maybe we need to be a little bit more of a detective.
Yep.
I'd like to see. So can I put that to you?
Yep.
And I'll hear back from you. Same as everyone else. Charmaine has a question, then Wendy. Charmaine.
Thanks. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I'm relatively new to type 1 diabetes, having 2006 after years of being able to eat whatever I like. I've just got 3 quick questions, and one is concerning pre-boiling your rice and your pasta. Does that reduce the starch content?
Yes, it does.
Right.
By a small amount, yes, it does. But rinsing it, yes, it does.
Okay. Second question is wintertime. I love laksa soup.
Ooh, yes.
And I put in lots of stuff, but I'd love to be able to get rid of the coconut milk, because I believe that's the thing that causes spikes. Do you have any suggestions?
A very good point. So the coconut milk shouldn't increase the spike. I think, you know, what people say, it's the saturated fat content that is the issue. You could go with reduced fat coconut milk, because if you swapped it, Charmaine, to evaporated skim milk and put coconut essence in there, that would be the same amount of carbs. So it's more the saturated fat, but don't be worried about that. It is hard for me to do, to be honest, recipes with coconut milk, because it goes over our saturated fat criteria. But if you're not eating that every day, it's fine. But don't be worried about the blood sugar spike. If you do get a blood sugar spike after it, send me the recipe and show me, because it might be what did you eat with it, or maybe there are other factors that I'm going to be working out with Deb that cause that blood sugar spike. But the coconut milk itself shouldn't be causing, because it's high fat, shouldn't be causing. But with you, Charmaine, with type 1 diabetes, we know, and Deb knows this well, sometimes high fat meals can cause a blood sugar spike. So you're discovering a lot of new things, and keep coming to these webinars, because
this is my best one.
Yeah, well, welcome. And you know, I learn a lot, particularly from clients, patients like Deb, who's had type 1 for a long time, and discovering so many different so many different things that impact on blood sugars with food. But yeah, don't be worried about the laksa, and just check my email that I've put in the chat, because I'd love to hear from any of you in regards to if you're struggling with something or have questions. This is what United is all about. If we don't hear from you, we expect everything's fine.
Okay,
that's our job.
Is, if I make a curry, instead of using rice or anything else, I very finely slice cabbage and steam it to use with the because I can't do rice. It's just nasty.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it, but it's nasty to me.
It's
Thank you very much for that.
But the cabbage is a great idea. The cauliflower grated is a great idea. Keto have the rice. I haven't tried it yet. It's in my pantry, but Debbie said it's not that great. I haven't cooked it yet.
It's probably my least favourite of their products.
Yep. I haven't yet tried it, but Charmaine,
I use cauliflower rice.
Yeah, because that's Mediterranean. You're getting a big whack of plant foods, and I mean, people say, "Oh, I get a bit windy after it," but that means that your gut's working well. You know, you don't want to have too much of an issue, but a little bit of flatulence is actually quite healthy, showing that you've got a healthy gut. So I think that's better. You got more plant fiber and much lower carbohydrate, and then you're not going to get those big spikes. So I love it, Charmaine. Wendy, hello.
Hi, mine's quite simple. I want to ask Deb, where do you buy your keto pasta?
Online.
Online
So,
from that's
yeah,
a lot.
I believe that I believe you can only get it online. So keto, I think it's keto.com.au.
Yes.
Quite a heavy delivery
I think
cost,
the link for it is in the chat if people want to have a look at it. It's KetoQETOE.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can get great deals too, Wendy, because after Deb mentioned it, if you sign up, you get 10% free, which is usually free delivery. But then I got the try everything pack because I thought, because I'm doing recipe modification and recipe creation, I just bought each type and then try before you buy, and then go through it. And then the more you buy, they give you discounts and everything. They are available in some stores, but not around the Wollongong area.
I did have a look, but it was pretty heavy delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, if you sign up, you should be able to get some sort of discount. Send me an email if I'll help you out too, because I got a pretty big discount.
Yeah. Okay.
But send me a message.
Okay.
Michelle.
Hello there.
Hi, Michelle.
When you say the chat, where is that?
Oh, darling. Okay, so look up the top and you can see all the different icons. And the first one has a little speech bubbly thing on there and it says chat. And if you click on that, you'll see all our messages.
Chat isn't available.
Oh, that's annoying. All right.
All policy.
Michelle, do you have Q&A next to that? Is that available for you?
Oh, well.
It depends on, with Teams, it depends on if you're, because we are part of an organisation, we have the Teams app, I guess you would say, account. So for people to just view a webinar or join us for a webinar, you don't actually need the app or an account. You can just join via the browser. And I think if people can join via the browser, they only have the option of either Q&A or chat that comes up, and that's a team-based thing. That's not something that we can change, unfortunately. But I will put Beck's email into the Q&A as well, if you can see the Q&A.
Yeah, I've just put in Q&A. Yeah, I've just put in my email in Keto. But what I'll do is, after this chat, I'll put in this shopping list, Mediterranean diet shopping list, exercise and blood glucose levels from the previous webinar that Stephen raised, and then I'll put in the links to Keto. I might think of a couple of recipes from a website just to add in. Yeah, but we'll send all that to everyone. So don't be worried if you feel that you can't see anything right now.
I found it in Q&A.
Oh, did you? Oh, good. Good. Margaret, you had a question. Just seeing all the friendly faces. Hello, Scott. I remember Scott from before. I've seen all these familiar names and faces. It's lovely. Michael. Margaret, did you have a question?
You need to come off mute, Margaret, if you have a question and you're asking a question. The microphone's still muted.
Are there any other questions? like I said, I'm going to handpick a couple of recipes that I think might or will summarise what we've talked about. I'm going to think of some quick ones too, quick recipes where you're still getting your dose of antioxidants, but maybe you're coming in at 7 p.m. at night. Maybe a couple of breakfast ideas. Yeah, but any questions at any time, and those who are on the webinar quite often, you know, they know that they can email me if you've got specific questions. Happy to look at your food diary, your blood sugar. Don't forget, when you do a food and blood sugar diary, write down any other factors that may impact those blood sugars. All right, it's not just food, stress, sleep, weather, pain. Oh, yeah, Scott, here we go. Hey, Scott, Slendia also do a range of low-carb pastas. The soybean ones are good, but hard to find. I got sick of the edamame version at Coles. Thank you, Scott. You're right, Slendia, exactly. And keep a lookout for these products. If you find a new product, send it to me. Send me an email, because I usually find out about it through these webinars. Yep. Any other comments or questions?
Margaret just said I was on my phone.
I was on the phone, but I got too hot. Oh, God bless you.
Oh,
Oh, can you believe, is that already gone an hour?
it has. It has, yes. And I just remind people, if you're in, I put a post up last night. Beck was talking about the fakeaways before and how the next meal plan that Beck's putting together. And for those that don't know about the meal plans, if you are an Essential member, you probably would not have seen those. They are a Plus member benefit and come out monthly in the newsletters. And it is a full meal plan for 7 days of breakfast, lunch and dinner and snacks. So, and they come out in the newsletter, as I said, and they're also on Diabetes Connect for our Plus members. But if you do have any recipes, or a favourite meal like a pizza or, a certain pasta or fried chicken or Thai, anything that usually by takeaway, there's a post on Diabetes Connect as well that you can jump in there, and if you can see that post, pop the meal in there, and Beck will try and turn it into a fakeaway. I think someone said maybe a Luxa, so maybe we can try and do
what Charmaine said. Yeah, look, it will pass the carbs to saturated fat, but like I said, my testing crew are my 4-year-old daughter and 70-year-old mother, so opposite ends of the spectrum, and both fussy in their own ways. So if they like it, I'm sure you'll like it. But thank you, everyone. I'm astounded how quickly it goes. That's just because of all your great questions. And any like I said, any ideas, questions, please email us. We'd love to hear from you. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, either email us. You can email, or Beck's put her email in there, or we've got our general email address, which is united@diabetesaustralia.com.au. Or as I said, we're in Diabetes Connect every day, actively watching in there, so you can put your question in there, and either Beck or myself will come back to you.
We've got, Ange and I went to a workshop last week with the whole team, membership team, and we're working on very exciting stuff coming up. Lots of new offers for members, lots of different ways of keeping us all engaged. So next year is going to be really exciting. Don't you think, Ange?
It's always exciting, but yes.
I mean, more exciting. I said more exciting. Yeah, but your feedback really helps. But we've got some really good stuff cooking, no pun intended, in the next few months and then next year. Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Please jump
Thanks,
in
ladies.
and say
Thank you.
hi. But thanks, everyone, for
Everybody.
coming today. We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.